The Forest of Borrowed Shadows. English Story Level 3. Beyond the edge of Briarwood Village lay a forest that children were warned never to enter. Trees grew taller there than anywhere else in the world, but beneath their branches, light barely touched the ground. It was said that the forest borrowed shadows from anyone who walked too deep inside. Taran, a curious and fearless boy, had heard the stories all his life, but he didn't believe them not until the day his dog, Moss, chased a squirrel into the forbidden woods. Taran ran after him, calling his name, but the deeper he went the darker the forest became. Soon the trees towered, so high that the sky disappeared completely. Moss's barks echoed strangely, as though the sound was being swallowed. Taran saw his own shadow stretching unnaturally across the ground, pulled forward like it was being tugged by invisible hands. A whispering breeze brushed his ears. Shadows slid between the trunks, thin and quick like living ribbons. One of them peeled off the ground and circled him. It wasn't frightening, just curious. It touched his feet like a cold ripple of water. When he tried to step back, the shadow tugged gently as if inviting him deeper. Taran followed cautiously until he reached a clearing lit by a dim bluish glow. At the center stood a tall figure cloaked in shifting darkness. His eyes glowed pale silver beneath the hood. He introduced himself as Shadekeeper, guardian of borrowed shadows. He told Taran that the forest borrowed shadows not to harm travelers, but to keep balance. Shadows carried memories, secrets, and fears. People often abandoned these things without realizing it, leaving the forest heavy with forgotten emotions. The Shadekeeper preserved them so they would not be lost completely. Taran asked why his shadow had been pulled forward. The Shadekeeper explained that Moss had wandered into the Chamber of Lost Echoes, where no creature should go alone. Only someone with a brave heart and a steady shadow could enter safely. The forest had tested Taran's spirit, and he had passed. With a wave of his hand, the Shadekeeper caused Taran's shadow to stretch further across the clearing. It pointed toward a narrow tunnel formed by roots and vines. Without hesitation, Taran ran through it, guided by the faint outline of his shadow. Inside the tunnel, echoes drifted through the air. They were memories of people who had been too afraid to retrieve them, whispers of regret, laughter from long ago, and promises never fulfilled. Taran felt a chill as the echoes brushed past him, but he pushed forward. At the end of the tunnel, he found Moss curled up, trembling. Taran scooped him into his arms, and the shadows around them moved aside, clearing a path back to the Shadekeeper. The guardian bowed his head and returned Taran's shadow to its proper place. He warned that the forest would always be watching, not as a threat, but as a reminder that people should never discard their fears or memories without understanding them. Shadows, he said, were not something to fear, they were parts of ourselves. Taran left the forest with Moss, stepping back into the daylight with a deeper sense of himself. From that day on, whenever he saw his shadow stretching beside him, he felt grateful. It reminded him of the forest, the Shadekeeper, and the truth that bravery was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to walk forward despite it.